Qatar Living now is the biggest platform in Qatar. We were one of the biggest sources of information during the World Cup. What do you need to bring your pet to Qatar? This is the cut where everything will change, and it's really nice to live through it.
And today our guest speaker is Haitham Al-Haydari. He is the CEO of Qatar Living. Thank you so much for being here today. We're so excited to hear about Qatar Living. Can you please share our audience what do you guys do in Qatar Living?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I really appreciate the invite. Qatar Living now is the biggest platform in Qatar. It's been here for 19 years. It has almost half the population using us actively every month. So what doesn't Qatar Living do at this point? There's so much that we do. Qatar Living started in 2005, and it was a forum. It was for people to just speak, answer, and then towards in the 2010s, it grew organically into, how the internet kind of like the speed went up, the applications went up, and so people needed more from the internet. And really, there were very, very few platforms that offer other things on the internet other than communication, right?
Yeah.
And so it organically grew into marketplaces, and so people started, looking for cars, for properties, for the things that people need here in Qatar. And most of the population here are expats, and so as it grew organically, the services grew to cater for the need of expats coming here looking for, it's a new chapter in life.
Yes.
Looking for a house, looking for
Cars,
a car,
for sure.
a job, buying and selling furniture, equipment, all of that. So it kept growing from that, and I think it found itself in a very unique position because it went from content into marketplace, and then at some point these two merged. And today, when you see the structure of Qatar Living, content being at the core of what we do, and all these services in between, there isn't any other company really in the region that does it. The closest things that comes to Qatar Living are marketplaces or individual verticals that do what we do. But this combination of things is extremely unique. And I'm really happy that this actually came out of Qatar.
No, me too. I feel like when I came to Qatar, and the same, I was looking for a car, and I wasn't looking for housing but for the car, and it's like, where do I go? And right away on the group of expats, Qatar Living, everybody's Qatar Living.
Yeah.
So and you guys make it really easy, especially for expat communities here. There is a multicultural ways of looking for properties or looking for cars or looking for different things, and I think that it's very impressive that you are able to cater to many different expats here in Qatar, but from many different countries. So that's really impressive.
I mean, a lot of the things that we do comes directly from the people. So it's been great to understand what people want, especially that we're also big on social media. So we can hear people firsthand and then build for that. I mean, we have around almost 300,000 people a month that visit and use Qatar Living from outside Qatar.
Wow.
And so these people want to come visit Qatar, so they want to know things like visas or where to go, how to rent a car, all of these things, or they're moving to Qatar, or they're just interested in news in Qatar, because we have that news part where we also give people information about what's happening here.
Yeah.
And we were one of the biggest sources of information during the World Cup, during even more intense periods like coronavirus. During the pandemic, Qatar Living was a stepping stone to disseminate the right information and battle fake news, during times like these, even during the blockade, and so a tool like this is important, and not just for us as a company, but for everybody and for the country to have something from its own, to depend on.
Yeah, it's impressive too, because you go from challenges as the blockade, and you're there and you pivot and you got on top of it, and then you got the pandemic as well, which I was here during the pandemic. the whole time.
Yeah, there you go.
The whole time. And I can tell you that I had been a user of Qatar Living since I moved here, even before too. When I was with the American Embassy, they will send you links of, links and places to go to prior to moving here,
Right,
as you
right,
mentioned earlier with
right.
expats. So I was like browsing in Qatar Living all the time, just kind of to get the vibe of Doha and, how does it look like, from different perspective versus, seeing other, like the nice pictures that you see in Google.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So just kind of seeing all of that, and definitely it's helpful. But at the same time, you guys are pivoting with everything that happens, right? Like now you got the World Cup and you were like the main, source of that. How do you guys, obviously from even like visitors, from other countries coming in Qatar, and you guys were like the main kind of source in the World Cup, how do you guys manage to market, or what do you do to have these users from other countries when they were coming here so they can find you?
Right. So being this old, 19 years now, Qatar Living, we became a place. What do they call it? Not a proven domain, a domain of authority for Google, for example. Right. So when people go just to Google and search for anything, they don't have to search for Qatar Living. Qatar Living shows up first because Google sees us as an authority.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, especially when they were coming to during the World Cup to Qatar and they were Googling stuff, they were finding all this information on Qatar Living. And the team has done an amazing job to make sure that everybody's informed. They've tackled important areas, whether it's what's happening or how do you not get scammed, or very more kind of like detailed topics to make sure that everybody gets the value out of it. And so far now I've been a year with Qatar Living, and it's been it's a privilege of my life. It's to run something this huge, this big, to affect the lives of 1.5 million every month. It's a huge responsibility, and so there was transformation during 2023, and so we decided to take Qatar Living to kind of a transformative phase. Right now, it grew to a point that now we need to see what are the potential areas that we haven't really tapped into. And so since then, we started looking into more topics that we're transitioning from general to specific, right? And so we're looking at specific topics on where people need some help with in their daily lives, down to the point of what do you need to bring your pet to Qatar?
Oh, that's amazing.
And that was
Thank you for doing that.
Of course, we have our content team is over 20 people doing original content full time. Extremely creative, extremely diligent, and they always find the best way to bring the information, to disseminate it in the right channels, and to cover as much as possible. And that goes through our verticals. So we have a job portal on Qatar Living. Companies post to find people. People post their CVs for find jobs and vice versa. But we go from content point of view to educate. For example, we do a lot of videos, a lot of articles to educate people on how to approach an employer, how to have good interviews, how to prepare yourselves, what kind of things you should be looking at when you choose a job, right? Because it's a two-way street. The company chooses you, but you have to choose the company too. What's a good environment to work in, what's a bad environment to work in. And so I think being that, we become a lot more closer to the users to make sure that we fulfill the responsibility that was given to us.
I mean, I really applaud you for that.
Thank you.
The fact that you're really following what your customers need and the need, to me, it's just not the company. Like you're taking them by hand and say, like, we are with you, right? Like you are building like a next level of trust too, because they know that, what you guys are doing is to really help them out. For instance, when you mentioned about the dogs, when I tried to get my dogs out of Qatar too, it was extremely hard.
And probably didn't even find a place to tell you kind of like all the information, whatever we needed to do?
It was bring him into the country. I would say was a bit easier. Getting him out of the country, I had 2 dogs, and I like the last minute at the airport, like I didn't have my approval.
Oh no.
And I showed up to the airport, and I was like, I'm not leaving Qatar until I take my dogs with me.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
It was, for me, I don't have kids. My dogs are my kids. So I was like, I'm not leaving without my babies, I'm staying here. So the fact that for me, somebody like you guys, Qatar Living, providing that information and that value when you have something so deep that you value as well. I mean, it's like fresh air, right? It's just,
That's really good
amazing
to hear that kind of feedback. I mean, we still have a long way to go, I think, in many areas. But the one thing that when we sat together last year and we said, okay, the mission we need to work, at least when it comes to content, is that we have to be the hub for all the information. You need to know anything about Qatar, you'll find it on Qatar Living, no matter what. And so the team, even I think, did a good job in the events section where we, a lot of people come to Qatar Living and Qatar Living events on Instagram and on our website as well to know what are the events that are coming up, where can they get tickets, what time, stuff like that, the calendar in general. We're still innovating a lot in that. I think there's a long way to go with the events part. But so far, at least in social media, I think we're doing an okay job.
Well, every time I used to go to an event, I will see your team.
Yes, our team now
I will see your team, filming.
Yeah, now it's, I'm sure you're going to find them everywhere, and everybody's wearing Qatar Living all over now.
Oh, yeah. No, you're doing amazing on that, on the marketing.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask you, since, you're this platform that provides so much value in different topics, what would you say for entrepreneurs or business owners, looking to enter this market? What advice would you have to them? Because you don't know what you don't know, and I feel like there's, as we were talking earlier, there's so many opportunities here.
Right. I think so. I come from entrepreneurship, right? Before this, I used to, build my own companies and run them. My wife and I, opened all the companies from before, and I think that prepared me well to run Qatar Living today. But throughout the journey in the last 10 years, let's say, her and I started about 13 or 14 companies.
Wow.
Most of them failed, but you gotta go through the journey.
Yeah, it's a journey.
One of them succeeded, and it was big, and it was internationally known in several countries, and then I exited by the end of 21.
Congrats on that.
Thank you. I think there are a lot of lessons. I remember when I started my startup back then, I think there are 3 startups that really made it after 2 years without being, bankrupt in Qatar, and then continued to make it big, from hundreds of startups. And the reason is, back then the country was still, the ecosystem was being built, right? Today is a lot better than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And back then also, maybe the problem happens sometimes till now, which a lot of people take examples of big startups from North America, and then they apply the same concepts here, right? Whether it's the same idea or the same method of building the startup, or the same investment rounds. There's the same mentality of, this is how it's structured there, it must structure here.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways that doesn't work. It's very easy. You go to the US and you ask an investor, for example, you set with a VC and you ask them for like $2 million, they'll tell you that's a small ticket. What's $2 million?
Yeah.
If you're raising 5 or 10, come talk to me. And you come here and you say $2 million, and people are not gonna touch you. What is $2 million? It's too much.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not like they don't have money. It's just the difference of investment, the understanding of what an exit is. What are you gonna do when what is your 5-year plan really? Realistically, it's sometimes unrealistic because it's different when you compare it to. And so it's important to understand the nuances of this country, of the community, of the region, and have realistic expectations out of it. So that's kind of like from the funding part. From running the startup part, first of all, I think this goes for all the startups everywhere, which is unless you really, really, really love what you do not start a business. It's extremely taxing. You lose a lot of money, you lose a lot of youth.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of things get lost in the middle, and so it has to be worth it.
Yeah.
The stress, can be a lot, and sometimes it's rewarding. Sometimes it's not. So the idea of failure has to be extremely okay. It's just a step. I failed, so what's next? A lot of people, I think, don't have that. Sometimes they don't have the seriousness of taking a risk, and by default, if you're going to start a startup, it's a risk.
Oh, 100%.
And so a lot of people here would, in the region in general, would start a business as a second job. They do it after hours or something, and they have a main job. If I'm an investor, I'll never invest in something like that. That doesn't make sense. That shows that you're not serious enough in your business. Why do you want other people to be serious about your business? There are a lot of things that I can share. A lot of people, for example, romanticize the idea of an entrepreneur, an entrepreneurship, and no one mentions the toxic part of it.
Yeah.
There is a huge toxic, a lot, and even away from adding to the stress. The more you grow, then you start selling some of your control, one of your shares in the company, and then you get investors, and you get board of directors, and then there is maybe institutional investors that come in, and so at some point you have a table, full of investors that everybody wants their own benefit, and a lot of times it becomes toxic.
Yeah.
Where some investors will try to do things to get more, or push you more to just make them more money, and so you might have that fun environment that you're creating for your staff or for users, but then it's like Stranger Things, the upside down, when it comes to your investors and board of directors and stuff. And so a lot of people don't speak about that part. We see it in the news in places like the US, but here it's almost frowned upon to talk about it. That's keep it quiet, and then we talk about the magnificent
only
part.
The fun, the success, I made it through the hurdle, and I love that you mentioned that, because honestly, that's what it is too. You only see the success part of it, but nobody, like you mentioned, you had 13 companies, one you were able to exit, and obviously you learned so many lessons, and I feel like that made you, and the fact that you didn't, you and your wife didn't give up, and then you guys continue to pivot and like, okay, we closed this, it didn't work, what's next? That's a very important for the audience, because everybody wants the end result, but you don't know the actual pain that goes through.
Absolutely.
by doing it, and especially when you are entering a new market, an international market. It is very complex, in my opinion, but it is also worth it.
It is. I would never be the CEO of Qatar Living today if I didn't go through that.
See?
It's some of the startups I had that had to do with classifieds. Qatar Living has classifieds. I had a startup in real estate listings. Qatar Living is the biggest market place for real estate. I've had something for freelancers and jobs. We also have a job portal, so it gave me that kind of experience. But I also always learned to build for scale. It's from the beginning, if you're going to build something, make sure you build it for the million users, even if you have 50.
Yeah.
You need to be ready for the million users. And today we run a platform that literally has over 1 million users a month. And wow. So now what is the scale? It's like you're thinking, what is the next 10 million users?
Yeah. What is next? Yeah. I have some ideas for you.
Oh, please tell us. We're looking for a lot of ideas. Yeah. But it's complex when at this point now, with a platform like Qatar Living, and you're thinking, okay, how can I make sure everybody gets what they want? Make sure that nothing goes wrong in the platform. Make sure that everybody's secure. Make sure that and so reinventing yourself is really important. And this is one of the things that I've been working with a lot of my team members into creating that culture in the whole company, right? That in the company, when you go, we have dashboards on the wall for everybody to see, for the team to see how many people are using the site right now, or where they're using it and whatnot. So everybody see their impact, right? A lot of people, they just kept working on Qatar Living. and they themselves felt that it's just another platform.
Yeah.
And when it came, like, no, you have huge impact on everybody.
Yes.
Like literally, if we stop Qatar Living today, people's lives will be different.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Or they will be a little or hugely lost.
there is a lot that's gonna go unanswered, and a lot of businesses depend on us. A lot of people, people who are leaving, they want to sell their things. A lot of showrooms, a lot of brokers, real estate brokers, companies that are hiring, and so we have to reinvent ourselves into thinking what else can be done better. And so, for example, we moderate. Like, we have a moderation team, but we have tens of thousands of posts that go on Qatar Living every month, right? So how many people do you want to moderate all of that? You probably need a village full of people to moderate that. And so you have now to rethink your technology, rebuild new technology, start depending on more tools like AI to make sure that you're using it in the right way that works here. It's not just, hey, we're an AI company. We're not an AI company, but we do use AI now heavily in a lot of things because we have to keep up. And I mean, you lived here for a while. So one of the things that I always had conviction about is local companies, they serve a need, but not with great technology. Most local companies don't have great technology.
Yeah.
So it's just like, here's the most basic technology that works. As long as it works, let's just keep it there. Let's just do business.
It's not like super user friendly.
It's not user friendly. Yeah. It's not innovative. It's not on par with a lot of other places. And so a year ago, when I took over and with my team, we decided, okay, we're going to benchmark on the best of the best. So we started looking at North America and some of the verticals that we have, some companies there that are huge. They do what we do there, and we just looked at what technology they're using, how it's being used, how's the experience on it, and we started adopting some of these things to make sure that a made in Qatar product will be competing with the quality with a made in America product.
Wow, I love that.
And so we started working on that. And so I think in June, it was June 1st when we launched the biggest update in Qatar Living in 19 years.
Wow,
mashallah.
Thank you.
We released our new marketplace for cars. So now when you go to it, it looks different than the rest of the previous Qatar Living, and it's extremely user-friendly, and it has a lot of new features and things that some of the features are actually the first of their kind in the Middle East. And so we're pushing the bar so we get our competition to wake up and say, okay, we're gonna push the bar too. We gotta all compete at a much higher level.
Yes. And you're right. When I came here, I had some experiences with some platforms too, and it was very dated. Me coming from America, and you always have like very high good technologies there, and you're so used to that, and then you come here and then you experience other technologies in other platforms. It's definitely it was like, oh my god,
Yeah, it's as simple as, where do I log in? Give me the login button.
Just like,
where is
can
it?
you just make it easy for me? Where do I go? And sometimes when you're in Google, things come up in Arabic in some places, and then I don't even know where to read the Arabic for. I mean, I know how to read Arabic, so I do, but I understand where to go. But imagine like the people that don't know. It was just
absolutely.
I'm very happy that you guys
and
did that.
Qatar Living was guilty of that too. The bar was the same for everyone, and so we got really competent people in the team, and they just took it, and they're like, we're going to revolutionize the whole thing, and they've done an amazing job, and we still are. We're at the beginning of the journey, so in the next couple of years you're going to see amazing things. I can promise you that. So it's I think I'm very proud of the work that we're doing, and there is a lot more that I cannot wait for it to be out. We're working on a lot of cool stuff.
I can wait to continue to see you grow. I had my experience with you guys has been about 5 to 6 years, I would say.
Nice.
And I always been a fan of Qatar Living. I know a lot of your teammates, and and I think they're hardcore. Love Qatar Living.
It's a lot of fun. every interview I have with someone, because we've been hiring a lot, but every interview, it's never like, do you know what we do? It's like, I am a user.
Yeah,
I have been a
exactly.
user, and I'd love to work in a company that I've used for multiple years, and I want to contribute to that. And it's honestly, it's a huge privilege, for sure.
Well, I thank you so much. I have one last question for
Yeah,
you.
sure.
As AI now is, evolving and getting everywhere, and I feel like so many people, or I hear so many people afraid of AI taking their jobs. You just mentioned that you are using AI, for your company. To me, that's brilliant, right? Because you are not sitting just waiting for AI to take over, but you are innovating with the AI tools.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to our viewers on AI, and you are actually implementing the technology versus being scared and being shy away and kind of like staying behind? What advice would you give on that?
Maybe I can give advice to companies as well as to people, employees, right? Because a lot of people also think that they're going to be replaced themselves by AI. I think the most basic principle for companies is, once you actually figure out a system, you don't have to build AI yourself. You can use AI tools, and until you grow big enough and you have machine learning experts to build your own models. But you can use it. There are two ways to do it. It's either to replace your current workforce and end up with a lower quality and slightly higher margins, or include it into your workforce, right? And then increase your margins by multiples, huge multiples, right? And I think that is the right way to do it. Now, when it comes to employees, I mean, our team, I've given them, OpenAI licenses to 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 them to work, because this is how you get efficient. This is how you can produce things faster. Think more, or in an organizational way, and so it's really important to think that AI will always be an extremely great supportive tool.
Yeah.
It cannot be a replacement tool, and for a long, long time, I think from now, there are things that no matter how it can replace, you will not be able to control the outcome of AI. And so whether it's you're a person or a company, it'll be very hard for you to decide if this outcome of AI I didn't like, I need to change it, unless you are an AI company natively. Most of us are not. And so we need the people that can use it to supplement their work, not to replace their work.
Yeah.
And it's really important to to keep up with the times. People, even if you don't use AI, you need to know what AI is doing. Maybe one day it's going to help you stand out from the crowd whenever you need it. There are a lot of ways that AI, creative ways, doesn't have to be straightforward ways, that AI can come in place to make you have a thought.
Yeah.
And that thought is what changes everything. It's just, you need that spark. And so it is a very fancy calculator.
I love it.
Use it.
Oh my gosh, yes. It
Yeah.
I didn't know how to use it too much, and then thankfully to my marketing team, like, Mary, you need to use AI for
Yeah, and I mean,
this.
now it's in I used to work on AI when it was not cool, like back 2017, 2018. I remember I worked with a Ukrainian company on building the first review system AI here, where we had tutors when you book a tutor, and then when you finish the tutor, we had a problem with reviews. People don't, until today, right?
Yeah.
People don't leave reviews unless it's bad.
Yeah.
If something goes bad. And so we decided, okay, after every session, a phone call will come to you from this bot, right? And would ask you, hey, you got this session with so and so. Would you rate them out of 5? What would you give them? And you would say 4. And then, do you have any comment? And you say, yeah, he explained things great, blah blah blah. And then when you hang up, the rating and the comment will automatically be posted on the platform.
Wow.
So you don't have to go, right?
That's really good.
So we did it in 2018. We ran it. Failure rate was 97%. because nobody was ready for it. Nobody wanted to speak to a bot.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, no, that's it. And so, although we had a great system, the time was not cool. But now AI, you can talk to it. If you have ChatGPT, you can just like open the mic and you don't even have to text. And this is the AI. You don't have to go. Just like talk to it like as a friend.
Yes.
And it will talk to you. The newest update in ChatGPT, the lady is very flirty almost. You're like, I opened it the other day and my wife was like, what is that? And I'm like, it's ChatGPT. It's
love it.
I'll change it to a guy. And
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, like and she has all these things. You ask her a question, she would like laugh and then answers like, I don't need the laugh, just answer the question.
Yeah, give me the question.
Yeah, but it's like they're making it a lot more human now.
Yeah, I was gonna say they want to make it more like human, more human.
And this whole thing is for easy access. They want people to feel it less
comfortable, probably.
And I think it in some points it probably is doing the opposite, where people like are feeling it more when it's becoming more human. They're like, okay, what is this?
Yeah, like, is this a real person or is this a real bot?
Yeah.
I know. I will tell you that the bots at the beginning with me, I was like, are they gonna really answer the right thing? I wasn't sure. Wow, now it saves me so much time.
It is, people may resist it a little bit now, but there is no escape. Yeah. This is literally a clear line in humanity's history. Like right after the machine, it's like late 1800s. That was the clear cut where everything changed. This is the cut where everything will change, and it's really nice to live through it.
Yes. I was born when there was no cell phones back then. So now I get to experience all of these things.
And I remember the dial-up, and and it's like and you can't get the phone if the
we had pagers back then.
Right, pagers. I remember pagers.
Pagers and those phones that you have to like click, and they have like a long cable. And now seeing all of these innovation that we got to experience.
And the big phones with the little antenna, that was less than 30 years ago. Imagine. Yeah. Now you can, probably think it, and it's gonna send the message.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge.
Thank you so much.
I'm very happy to see Qatar Living evolving, growing, innovating. I can't wait to continue seeing you guys doing that.
Thank you. Happy to have you as a friend, as a user, and please let us know your ideas.
Absolutely, I will.
Very eager to hear it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you.